Trevoh Chalobah has finally agreed his deal to go to Como. Crystal Palace are preparing a bid to bring in Axel Disasi to replace Maxence Lacroix. Jordan Henderson has been announced for Chelsea, and we're going to take a little look at his first words in blue. Despite multiple Premier League clubs showing interest in Mykhailo Mudryk, Blueco seem keen to send him to Strasbourg and keep him in the Blueco umbrella. Meanwhile, Jorgensen's move to Strasbourg has stalled due to difficult negotiations. And Xabi Alonso seems to have been paying special attention to Esteval Willian in training. We're going to take a little look at what he's been getting the flary Brazilian to learn. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And that means a second upload for the day, because it's Chelsea, and sometimes there's a little bit to talk about, and sometimes there's a lot to talk about. Today is one of the days where there's a lot to talk about, so let's go! Pice posted this: breaking agreement reached for Trevoh Chalobah to join Como, fee of €30 million via Fabrizio Romano. Look, I am just glad this one is done, basically, because it's just like the Willy won't E with Chalobah to Como I felt like I've talked about it so much. It seems like compared to everything else that's going on, it seems like such a small deal, but Como have really been tough negotiators with us, but it looks like we've got it over the line, and the numbers are as follows. Chalobah details, the details of Chalobah's transfer are £25.7 million plus 5 million add-ons, so that's 25 mil with going up to 30 if he meets the add-ons, but also with a sell-on clause. So maybe, it's unlikely, because if that's a 10% sell-on clause, then they're going to have to sell him for 50 million in the next few years in order for us to get up to that 35. But either way, we'll make a little chunk of whatever he gets sold for in the future. So look, thank you, Trevoh Chalobah, for your service. Albeit, I think it's evident the majority of the fan base agree he wasn't the guy to be in the first team. We'd love to have kept him around as a rotation player, but for his career, for his own development, I'm really happy he's going to Como. He's going to play Champions League. He's going to get to play under Cesc Fabregas and that exciting brand of football. And yeah, I'm just, and what I really like about Trevoh Chalobah is he's obviously got really good character, right? Because he has kind of had it worse than a lot of other players under Blueco, because they've basically just been trying to flog him year on year, and he was very determined to be like, no, I want to try and get my shot in the first team, and he did whatever he could to make that happen. And, he went on his loan to Crystal Palace, and then he got brought back, and we played him. There's been talks about selling Trevoh Chalobah for what feels like forever now, probably like the last 2 or 3 windows. But he stuck it out and he did everything for the club. So yeah, like I say, man, I appreciate his character. So much respect. He's an academy player. We saw him from a nipper all the way up until now, where he's going and making his big move to Como to play Champions League football under Cesc Fabregas. And I, for one, am eternally grateful for his service, and I wish him all the best. But I am just happy this deal is finally over. And guys, if you've made it this far into today's episode of the Stamford Sync, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, next up, we're going to keep talking about centre-backs, and it's Axel Disasi. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Fabrice Hawkins. Breaking: Crystal Palace are set to submit an offer to Chelsea for Axel Disasi. Talks between the clubs currently ongoing. So, all it says is submit an offer, so I assume that's not a loan. I assume that's not a loan deal, right? What we're not looking for a lot for Axel Disasi. 20 mil will do it. 17 mil apparently, when Roma said they were interested, would do it. If it is a sale though, what we've learned obviously about the new rules that have come out this year, that means that they will lose £17 million of the profit banked from the Maxence Lacroix deal on their books, but at the same time, they want to address their squad with a centre-back who's got Premier League experience. And albeit we weren't his biggest fan, he played well for Aston Villa. He played well for West Ham. So you got to think, Crystal Palace aren't looking at Axel Disasi's time at Chelsea. More recently, they'll be looking at the Aston Villa and West Ham time, right? So look, it's a little bit different to the Chalobah thing. I haven't got quite as much good feeling around Axel Disasi as a player. Obviously, he's a funny guy. Do you know what I mean? If you ever watch the Chelsea content that they put out when they cook together and stuff, sometimes he's a funny dude for sure. But just as a player, evidently just wasn't really what we were looking for. A market opportunity, but was it even really? Because he was 30 mil at the time. And yeah, it's just not worked out for Axel Disasi. It's not worked out for Benoit Badiashile. Unfortunately, it's not worked out for Chalobah. But with Chalobah going to Como, Axel Disasi apparently potentially being subject of a bid from Crystal Palace. And as we talked about in today's video from earlier, Benoit Badiashile has interest from Napoli and Juventus. It looks like we might be about to see the end of the congested centre-back nonsense that's been going going on at Chelsea. We'll still have a couple of, issues to deal with. Tosin Adarabioyo, Wesley Fofana, but I'm not expecting their futures to be decided in the immediate future. I think just in terms of getting the squad ready for the start of the season, if we get these three guys out, we make a little bit of money, we free up room in the squad, it's all good. So next up, Jordan Henderson. Jordan Henderson is a blue. 36-year-old Jordan Henderson, and I, for one, am here for it. So he's been announced, there's been pictures, and he's had a few things to say about Chelsea. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Chelsea FC. Jordan Henderson said, "The older you get, you go through a lot of different experiences. At times, you can relate to the younger players when you look back at your own career and think about things I've been through that I can see similar situations happening." So look, a lot of this, the things that he said, really seem to pertain to Jordan Henderson coming in to be a dressing room figure as much as a player, right? He's going to get minutes. Of course he's going to get minutes. And he played a lot for Brentford last season. 32 games with average 60 minutes. So he was playing the majority of Premier League minutes for Brentford last season. But with this and the other few things that I'm going to get onto, Jordan Henderson does seem to be leaning into the fact that he is an experienced leadership figure. He also said, "Throughout my career, everything I've tried to do has been for the team. I've tried to make people around me better by being the best teammate I can be." And on his leadership skills, he said, "It's probably best for my teammates to speak, but football is a team sport and everything should be about the team." So between those last two tweets, he said team a lot, do you know what I mean? And I think the thing is, with so many young guys in the squad who all want to make a name for themselves, maybe that's been part of our issue, right? Is the team ethic hasn't necessarily been there because they're not always playing for each other. Largely, they will be playing for themselves because they're young players and they're like, right, this is my moment, my moment to shine, my spotlight or whatever. And we saw moments like that erupt. For instance, the penalty debacle under, was it Mauricio Pochettino? I think it was, when Madueke and Nicholas Jackson were arguing on the pitch about who's going to take a penalty. Do you know what I mean? Even you can see it in all of the cards that we've had at the same time, right? It's like you get all of these cards and that shows you're not playing for your team because you're letting your frustration or whatever it is that you're trying to do at the moment take over the fact that you're in a team game and you're already on a yellow. A lot of these reds weren't straights. They were second yellows after dissent to the ref, which also is not very team friendly when you consider your team needs you. So keep your head in the game so you can, stay on the pitch and try and grind out a result. And that's another thing, right? Is another thing we've seen with, classically over the last few years is we can be up in a game or we can be looking good or we can be in the middle of a difficult battle. And in the last half an hour to 20 minutes of the game, we can switch off, we can lose focus, especially if something bad happens. And players like Jordan Henderson will hopefully help us fix all of these problems. The red card situation, the teamwork, the, professionalism in general, getting these guys to really, they're not just a collection of players, they are a team. And, genuinely, I've said team as much as Jordan Henderson has now. But that is what I think. And either way, I'm happy to have players like Jordan Henderson and Danny Welbeck in the club. Ideally, in the future, I want our players to develop into these guys, right? And it's difficult because some of the older players we've got now, Tosin Adarabioyo, not very good. Pedro Neto, Sailor Balasset, some of the guys that are a little bit older and could mature into those experienced players are probably going to get sold beforehand. So I don't know if we're starting to see the beginning of what might be a rotating door policy of older players. When Jordan Henderson retires, we go out and get another one. Like I say, ideally, I'd like to see some of these players start coming from the club, but that's going to take a little while. So moving on, there is more updates about Mykhailo Mudryk and what Chelsea want to do with him. Pice posted this via Santi JFM. Chelsea are leaning towards loaning Mudryk to Strasbourg over the Premier League. So that's interesting. And there was something I talked about in the video earlier today where it said loaning him to Strasbourg would allow them to keep him under the Blueco watch, right? And they'll get a little bit more kind of control, I guess, over what goes on with Mykhailo Mudryk. They can make sure he's getting minutes, for instance. Now, I don't love the idea of that because even though it's probably not going to be happening at Chelsea, it shows that maybe Blueco are looking to make, why aren't you playing Mykhailo Mudryk? You've got to play Mykhailo Mudryk. He's a Sailor Balasset, or we need to get him back to his best, or try and whatever. So I don't love the basic idea of that. But at the same time, I just don't think him staying with the team is the best thing for him. He needs minutes. He needs to play, and he needs that in a team that doesn't have the pressure of trying to turn a 10th place finish into a Champions League finish as well, and maybe try and win a few domestic cups. Mudryk has been out for such a long time now. It's kind of almost unprecedented. This really doesn't happen very often at all. And the difference between Mudryk and Pogba is Mudryk's 25, 26. He's still potentially got a good 4 or 5 years in front of him before his pace maybe starts to leave him, which is his most valuable asset. So look, Whether it be Strasbourg, look, I'd love to see. I mentioned earlier there was some interest in Coventry. Frank Lampard saying, "Yeah, give Mudryk to me, I'll sort him out." Either way, I just think if he gets a loan or if he goes to a Premier League club or whether it be Strasbourg or whoever, I think a loan is the best thing for him and the best thing for us. So we're not worrying about our Mudryk's on the bench rotting away because Morgan Rogers is the first teamer and Jamie Gittins is struggling to get minutes, albeit playing well. Giovanni Kender's around who can play left wing as well. And where do you find the minutes for Mudryk, right? So, and there's also like something, it came out, the guys that have joined up with the squad on the preseason tour have been given their shirt numbers now, and apparently Mudryk didn't even get a shirt number, so he genuinely might just be training. We might not even see him in the preseason games. It might just be, getting Xabi Alonso to have a look at him, see what he thinks, but it looks like Strasbourg, even before he's, had an opportunity to get on the pitch for Chelsea, Strasbourg is looking to be the likely destination. Keeping on Strasbourg, this one's a weird one, man. I'm not really sure what's going on. So Pice posted this via L'Equipe. Jorgensen's move to Strasbourg has been delayed due to tough negotiations. So my understanding is that Jorgensen's move to Strasbourg was a loan in the first place, right? So where's the tough negotiation? It's the same owners. It's the same owners. It's the left hand feeding the right hand, and we've never had an issue getting a player over to Strasbourg before. In fact, we've done crazy stuff, like we sent Ishe Samuel-Smith out there on loan and then ripped him back and sent him to Swansea because we decided to sell them Ben Chilwell instead. Like, Blueco have treated Strasbourg essentially as their plaything for a long while, and the only thing that this can say to me is that Jorgensen himself is saying something that is making the negotiation tough. Like, what's the negotiation? They haven't got a goalkeeper because we've brought Mike Penders back, so Jorgensen's going to be first team. He's going to play all of the games. Okay, cool. But what happens? I don't even know. Like, what is it? Does he want more money? Does he what even can the difficult negotiation be? Can it be how long it is? Could it be like a 6-month loan he wants over a year one? But Blueco are maybe being like, oh, well, we want to give you a year loan and then value you as an asset at the end of that year to see what we can sell you for. But maybe if Jorgensen just really wants to get out, he's like, loan me there for 6 months, put a break clause in the contract, maybe something like that. I'm not sure, man. Bit of a weird one though, but Jorgensen to Strasbourg, it's not off, but it's been delayed due to tough negotiations because the left hand is struggling with the right hand and they can't seem to find it easy to shake hands on this deal between themselves. And finally, to finish off, we're going to talk a little bit about Chelsea training. Xabi Alonso seems to have been taking a special interest in Estevan Willian. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Bobby Vincent. Training watch. Xabi Alonso has been working intensely with Estevan Willian, who is in his usual right-hand space and looking to cross the ball to his teammates. And Alonso was defending one-on-one against him. So this is a thing that's come out a little bit, right? The guys in training are loving how hands-on Xabi Alonso is in training. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Because it's like, Xabi Alonso doesn't have the stamina to do 90 minutes anymore, but he's probably still one of the best in the world with the ball at his feet when it comes down to it. So it seems interesting that he's taken a special interest in Estevan Willian, especially defending against him. Do you know what I mean? Actually being the guy that he's got to get past, and that's probably, quite a difficult thing even now. Also, Chelsea Dodgers posted this. Often Alonso would show Estevan down the line, forcing the left-footed wide man to cross with his weaker right peg. Alonso was looking to help all of his players, but in that session he seemed to have a particular focus on Estevan. So that's really interesting because he's evidently already identified not so much a weakness in Estevan's game, but something where if he can add it to his game, then he instantly becomes more dangerous. And I find this interesting in particular because coming up to the beginning of the window, when it was all like, who are we going to get, a lot of people were talking about the idea of Pedro Neto and Giovanni Quenda being options for the right wing back spot or the right wing spot. The right wing back spot in particular. And I just didn't see it, literally based on the fact that these guys are left footed, because if you're a wing back or you're a wide player, crossing is so important. And it's not that you can't cross with your weaker foot, but at the same time, you've got to, if you want to cross with your strong foot and you've just bombed down the right wing, you've got to turn around, you've got to shift the ball, you've got to give away a precious second, and you can't just dynamically to react. There's an extra step in between. And I know that seems like a small thing, but when you're trying to play high intensity, high pressing, attacking football, every second counts, right? So it's interesting here that he's identified this in Esteval already. Not saying that Esteval's going to play wing-back, but just the fact that Esteval maybe is not the strongest crosser or the most confident crosser with his right foot, and if he can drill that into Esteval to be an option, because this is the thing as well, isn't it? Like, what does everyone know about Esteval? He's a wizard with his left foot, right? So as a defender, instantly you're like, right, I've got Esteval coming towards me. He's probably going to cut in, so chances are I know where to go, and if I show him the other side, he's going to struggle. But Xabi Alonso is trying to now get Esteval to be more comfortable crossing on his right foot to save precious seconds and to make him even more dangerous. So I think that's fascinating, and I love the fact that Xabi Alonso is identifying these things in players already and going above and beyond the Call of Duty by so much as literally being the defending player himself in order to try and make him improve. So guys, I'm going to start wrapping up the video there, but I want to know what you think about everything that we've talked about today. Trevoh Chalobah has finally got his... Well, he's not there yet, but the move is agreed, right? The move is agreed. Trevoh Chalobah to Como for £25 million with 5 million add-ons and potentially a little bit more down the line in the way of a sell-on fee. Absolutely fantastic for Trevoh Chalobah. Like I say, I won't miss him in terms of like, oh, we're losing a really good player here. I will miss him in terms of like, he's a Chelsea boy, man. Do you know what I mean? He's a Chelsea boy. And I appreciate his character and his commitment to the club through very difficult times over the last few years. So we get to stop talking about Trevoh Chalobah at the least, and it's just, the move is going to happen. It's the money on the books. It's, you know, one centre back less, and I just think all round that's a good thing. Crystal Palace to submit an offer for Axel Disasi. So what does that even mean? Like, it's unlikely that it's going to be a loan, I think. So I'm not sure what the loan rules are, but we've obviously loaned Garnacho to Palace. So let me know in the comments, how many players can you loan to Premier League clubs? Is it 2? Is it less than that? So that in itself, does that show you that this bid from Crystal Palace is going to have to be a sale, which again is interesting because we've bought Maxence Lacroix for them. That's going to eat into their profit from that, but they need a centre-back. Axel Disasi is experienced, and that's then 2 centre-backs off of the books, and 3 potentially from what we talked about earlier with Benoit Badiashile going to Napoli or Juventus. We're nearly there. Jordan Henderson has arrived at the club and is saying all of the right things in terms of the kind of role I expect him to play. I do think he will have a role to play on the pitch, but I don't think he's going to be the partner for Moises Caicedo in our first team every single game. But he's been around the block. He's won the biggest honours. Do you know what I mean? You know, he showed how valuable he was to that England team with Jude Bellingham and Morgan Rogers. Absolutely raving about him. You know, we need an adult in the room, and Jordan Henderson has arrived to perform that role. Mykhailo Mudryk, supposedly Blueco are favouring a loan towards Strasbourg over getting him in a Premier League club. Let me know what you think about that. Jorgensen's move to Strasbourg is delayed because of difficult negotiations. Like, what does that even mean? And Xabi Alonso taking special interest in Esteval Willian in training, already trying to not necessarily improve weaknesses, but add more strings to his bow, which I think could make him an even more dangerous player. Awesome, guys. Thanks very much for sticking around until the end if you did. If you haven't watched my earlier video, go and check that one out. Although I will apologise now. I had an unforeseen editing error, and all of the news appeared in front of my face rather than on the side that it's supposed to. So I'm going to make sure that this one doesn't do the same thing, but go and check that video out if you missed today's earlier news. Anyway, I will catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.